Welcome to the December 16th OpenJ9 community call. It's great to see so many familiar names and faces, and as usual, please add your name and your affiliation to the list of attendees just so we can track who's been attending and we know sort of who the regulars are and we can enfold you more into the community. So I'll pause here as we always do to give people an opportunity to add anything to the agenda or to raise any questions, comments, or concerns right off the bat. All right. If something comes up along the way, feel free to chime in or to add it to the any other business section at the end of the agenda. We don't have a lightning talk lined up for today, though there's probably some we should work on getting set up for in the new year. So hopefully between now and the end of January, we can get some of these lightning talks lined up. Right, the next item on our agenda is to take a look at the user-raised issues and to see those that have come in since the last one of these calls. You see that there's an OpenJDK 15 issue with no class def found.
Yeah, I was just chatting with someone on Slack about that. He's going to try the latest Milestone 1 builds to see if that still happens because he was using the 0.23 build.
A question around stack traces and what should be printed for the class loader names. We'll have to take a look at this. Hopefully that shouldn't be too hard of a thing to get fixed up. Another question around module version using verbose stack trace. So there's a bit of a conversation there. So again, hopefully something we can get resolved fairly straightforwardly. Caller sensitive method restricted lookups. All right, so we've tagged Toby in this. I'll ping him again to follow up just to make sure that that someone's able to take a look at this. Are there any other items on this list that need discussion today? Jump back to the agenda. The usual reminder around help wanted issues, particularly for small things, to leave them open so other people can pick them up and get started into the community that way. Before I attempt to follow that link, I will correct it. We'll take a look at the download trends. So it looks like the overall trend here has been leveling off the last couple of days. So if we take a look just at the OpenJ9 trends, the OpenJ9 trends have been on an upward spike, which is nice to see. Compare that to the hotspot trends. They seem to be leveling off a little bit. We seem to still be on our slightly upward trend. So that's good to see as we get towards the upcoming release. We'll have to make sure that we're publicizing the milestone build so that people are aware of them and are able to pick them up. Is there any other comments people want to call out around the trends? We'll jump back to the agenda. Big thank you to Peter for doing the code splits for the 0.24 release. And the M1 builds have been tagged. We take a look at the milestone for that. we see that we're down to 8 items, which is a great improvement. So thank you to everybody who's put effort into either closing things out or moving them forward so that I have an accurate list of what needs to be in here. With the 8 remaining items, 2 of them are OpenSSL updates, which are more infrastructure than necessarily code changes for us. With the remaining items, do we see a path to getting these resolved for M2?
I think most of them will probably be moved forward.
From a JIT perspective, I think most of those will be moved forward. The one that that we still are diagnosing is the one that was opened recently, that 8214, or at least it arrived in our lab recently. So don't know about that one yet, but the rest are likely to move forward. 2 of them we're not even sure if they're a JVM issue or if it's a test case issue expecting certain behavior from the garbage collector. So those are kind of paired together. That's 9651 and 8872.
Okay. Sounds like you guys are already all on this, so that's great. Just as we get closer to that milestone 2 date, being able to make those calls would certainly help. I might even suggest preemptively moving these forward and only pulling them back if we have a solution that's risk-free enough to put in. Because looking at these, the number of them look familiar as things that have been long-standing issues, so moving them forward again should not be a quality statement given the previous releases. Any other comments or concerns around the 0.24 release? And the 0.25 release, which will come swiftly on the 0.24 release's heels. Here we still have 62 items that are open. Just a reminder that, even though there's a strong push to finish off 0.24 and to get those items complete, there is a lot of work still in this plan that we're going to need to get resolved for Java 16. The code split date on that is tentatively the end of January. So with the holiday season fast approaching, that doesn't leave us a huge amount of time to get these completed. So please do be aware of items in that plan. Do we have an update from the Adopt team?
I can give a brief one. We've been focusing mostly on trying to improve the build and test stability. Quite a few failures on the build machine and setup issues. We've also been spending quite a time going through the triaging of the various test failures in the M1 build, most of which have been actually due again to underlying machine issues. So we're trying to sort all those out in preparation for hopefully a much cleaner experience in January when we do the real release. That's mostly from my perspective anyway.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. So builds are a bit more stable now, and we're sort of working on the test job stability. Windows and AIX have been particularly poor jobs. AIX hopefully should be better now, and I'm working on a fix for Windows hopefully to make that more stable.
Other than that, while we're talking, there are some long-standing issues on the AR64 port. I'm wondering what's the best approach there. We get quite a few crashes that have been there for quite a while. I'm wondering whether the OpenJ9 community is actually focusing on them, or whether we might be better excluding these tests that are failing repeatedly for the time being till you get round to them. What do you think?
They're getting some attention. Unfortunately, the people that are looking at them have other distractions for the past couple of months, so they haven't been getting as much attention as they probably should. If they are occurring, there is one issue that we've seen that we've been trying to diagnose. It's potentially an escape analysis problem that might be the cause of multiple of those failures, but we're not really close to getting to the bottom of that just yet. If they are getting in the way of things, we can certainly turn them off. We'll have to make sure that we flip the switch back on, obviously, when we fix what we think are the underlying issues. Hopefully, we won't be in this state for a prolonged period of time, though.
So, well, we're kind of in the state of we get the test runs and we go and have a look and we say to ourselves, oh, it's that one again. And from time to time, we update the issue to say it's still happening. So well, there's two angles to it. One is just that, but the other is if you're aiming to move them out of early access status into fully supported release status, then they probably need some attention.
The goal for that is the current goal for that is end of the first quarter of next year, which is past 0.25 or JDK 16, obviously. And just depending on how things go, that might slip as well, depending on how much time we have to work on that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of getting out of early access state, it's not imminent, but it's coming up hopefully in the next few months. So if these are being a distraction for you, then in the project, then I guess you could certainly silence them so that it isn't consuming any of your time.
Okay, thanks. We'll talk amongst ourselves and see what we think, if you don't mind.
I wonder if that's better stated as second quarter, because the first quarter release is the one we're shipping in January, 0.24.
Right. Yes, that's right. Sorry about that.
So that would be 0.26.
Okay, thanks. You answered my question.
And just a big congratulations to the Adopt community. I see that some of the initial project proposals for Adoptium have been created at the Eclipse Foundation. So it's a huge step forward. Adam or Joe, is there an update on the infrastructure?
Sure. Not specifically infrastructure, but the JDK 16 split is almost done, I believe. I was doing it this morning. Looks fine so far. Other than that, not too much to report. OpenSSL was released, new version. I believe Adopt is done with that. We're just got a rollout on Windows now, so that's the only thing left. We'll hopefully have some cycles for that before the end of the year. And that's about it. There's a few different cleanup issues. There's a new one that happened on one of the Linux machines, so we've been investigating and chatting about that a little bit, but nothing too major to report.
Maybe it's a good time to finish the chat about JDK 16 since you brought it up.
Okay.
Now that the repo is created, we need the merge job.
Yep.
So is that Jason who's going to do that?
It is his name on it, but I can probably do it. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the instructions.
I imagine it's just a matter of
Copy.
copying JDK next and changing the name
Yeah, I'll
and
read
making
through.
sure it's configured to run at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, I shouldn't have a problem with that, but if I do, I'll talk to Jason.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
No problem. And I'll probably kick a build off for sanity purposes. You want that outside, I guess?
Might as well.
Okay.
I think there might still be one failure that occurs in Sanity functional. I don't know if the fix for that got merged. And then Windows is expected to still fail, I think, to build.
The compile?
Yeah, I don't think it compiles.
Okay.
But every other platform should compile.
Okay.
There's nothing else in the infrastructure section. Then we'll move on to the any other business. Babneet, is there an update on the method handles work?
Yes. So we did run tests last week with JDK 15, Sanity Functional Extended, and OpenJDK tests, which have been documented in the issue shown in the Google Talk. And JDK 16 extensions was also created today. So we have to decide whether to run, or when we enable those, whether to use JDK 16 or JDK 15. I think it will be decided based upon what is most stable at that point. Currently, as I was told, JDK 16 is unstable, so the best option is to do all the testing or run builds with JDK 15. And the last point is regarding the var handle guards optimization, which ends up using precompiled bytecodes instead of generating bytecodes during runtime, which was leading to an unimplemented bytecode assertion. And it seems like when caching the precompiled bytecodes, which are stored in a hidden class, these errors are shown and which get resolved when we disable SCC, or shared classes cache. So I think an issue will be created to address this failure as well. And this sums up the update for OpenJDK method handles. Back to you, Dan.
Thanks, Babneet. Devin, do we have an update on CMake?
Yeah, I'm running a build now to check my changes for the Windows patches that need to get moved up to the new extension repos. The AIX XL Clang stuff, that stuff I've pushed on to Sharon. I don't know if she's had a chance to take a look at that yet. And then otherwise, there's a performance regression in our ZOS builds. So I've been looking at that mainly.
And I see you've added a link to an OpenJ9 talk on CMake.
Yeah, that was the compiler vitality talk we gave.
Thanks, Devin. Is there an update on the Helm charts? I don't know if Marius is on the call. Don't see Marius, so we'll skip over that. Scott, I see that you've added the next date for the microJIT interest group meetings is January 14th. Is there anything else you want to chime in here?
Nope, just letting people know that we're taking a short break for Christmas.
We'll skip the CanOSP piece because, again, Marius is not on the call. Lan and Sharon, is there an update on the compressed and default combined story?
Last week we tried running some nightlies. There was one issue with the command line tester pulse type DDR test. it was failing on print all call sites and find all call sites. In the output from the test, it said that the dump file was possibly produced by a different incompatible VM, and then it pointed that DDR is not enabled for the core file. So just digging into that a bit more, the issue link is there. And then separately, there was also a build issue with ZOS, which I'm still looking into that. That is just based off of a regular ZOS build, so just looking into those two issues.
Thanks, Sharon.
Yeah, as for the test story, so thanks to Pete that he enabled mixed ref nightlies. There's some system tests that's having too long path, and on Windows that exceeds the maximum length, that's already been fixed. So the pending task on the test story is update the system test and OpenJDK test to run both compressed and non-compressed for the mixed ref build, and then go to check on those tests that's actually hard-coded for certain exclusion. We have to make sure they're running on the mixed as well. So those are the pending tasks.
Thanks, Lynn.
No problem.
Just a reminder of the stop ship criteria issue, where some of the discussion around what makes a stop ship issue has been happening. So if you have additional comments, feel free to chime in that issue, especially as we move or we come up on the upcoming releases. There's a reminder about moving the linter off of Travis and either to GitHub Actions or to Azure DevOps. The suggestion during the last call was that given the linter is primarily for the compiler use, that it would be best taken on by somebody on the JIT team. Daryl, is this something you could get somebody to take ownership of?
Sorry, couldn't find my mute button there. I can look into that and see if I can find a person for that.
Thanks. And the final item on our agenda is that the next meeting is likely January 6th, unless people feel that we need one before then. So unless there's some objections now, I will schedule the next one of these for January the 6th. All right, then thank you everybody for joining today. Have a great time over the upcoming holiday season, and we'll start these again in early January. And hope to chat with all of you for the next bit, either through Slack or on the next one of these in January. Thanks and bye.
Thanks, Dan. Happy holidays.
Thanks. Happy holidays, everybody.